look for happiness in today. Look for the best part in your struggle. I really need you to calm down, okay? I really need you to calm down. No, let myself be a human just like everybody else. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Women Talk Podcast. I am your host, Jabri, and this is season number 2. I am so excited to be back with you guys. I'm so excited that I get to come and decompress for you all every week. I've missed it so much. I've missed sitting down and talking to the camera and just having my safe space and a safe space for you guys. I hope you guys missed me. Not too much, but I hope you guys missed me enough that you're back here and watching season number 2. And yeah, we're back. I'll just explain a little bit about where I've been and why I haven't been here. I touched on it last season a few times, but I kind of didn't want to go into depth about what was going on with me, just simply because I was still going through it. And it's hard to talk about things when you're going through them, which we discussed on previous episodes, but some things you just got to say for yourself. But I will explain now. So I went from being in a live-in situation with a significant other to not living with that person anymore. And we had broken up a few months or so before we actually separated our living situation. So it was just stressful having to learn how to be alone and go through a breakup while we were also still in communication and are still in communication because we do share a pet. So yeah, all of that has just been or was really, really hard for me to go through while still being on camera and while still trying to smile at you guys and talk to you guys confidently while I didn't feel confident and while I wasn't smiling. I had to move. My moving situation was pretty crazy as well. I had to move somewhere temporarily that I didn't want to move because I didn't have anywhere to move set up for me. So now I am in a space. I have a room. I have somewhere I can sit down and actually record and talk to you guys freely. Today's episode is about isolation and the isolation that I had to go through while separating myself from that person. It's been a struggle, to say the least. Honestly, to say the least, it's been a struggle, but I've been getting through it and I feel a lot better today. Like a lot better today, like overly better. So, yeah, hopefully I'll be able to talk to you guys a little bit later about isolation, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and how isolation just affects me in different moments of my life and why I turn to isolation instead of any other form of coping. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out, is there anything else that I want to say? Oh, I'll come clean. Disclaimer, I did re-record this episode. So this will be the second time that I am actually sitting down to record this episode. The first time I took it from more of like a clinical standpoint. Like I was just being very by the book definitions. I used like a article that was done with research with like Science of the People website and everything. I was just being very analytical about the way that I was handling it. And I realized I was handling it in such an analytical way because I didn't want my emotions to come off at all. Like I didn't want anybody to see how I really felt about being lonely or being alone or being a loner or anything. So now, because I have a little bit more of a handle on my emotions, I'll be able to speak to you guys from more of an emotional standpoint that's like real, not that is one that I have to button up or make look nice. So yeah, coming up next, we are going to talk about being a loner, loneliness, what being a loner means to me, and how it's helped me through everything. Okay, so loneliness, being a loner. To me, the word loner honestly just means someone who spends most of their time by themselves and would actually prefer to do so. Lonely, I think, is someone who actually spends a lot of time by themselves but doesn't prefer to do so. But a loner, I think, is a person that actually prefers to spend most of their time by themselves. And I would definitely categorize myself as a loner. Of course, I have my moments where I want to be social. If I'm alone a little too long, I start to go a little bit crazy. A little bit. Not, I could go alone for a very long time. But typically, I'm alone by choice. I just feel my best when I'm alone. I feel like I can be myself to the highest extent when I'm just with me. And that's when I feel my most comfortable and at my best, is when I can be myself to the fullest extent. So I really, really, really enjoy being alone. This last season of my life, as I was speaking to earlier, where I was in a relationship and going through a breakup and also going through living alone, like away from that person, kind of forced me into more of a lonely spot than I would like to be in. And it showed me a lot about myself. It definitely showed me a lot of things that I need to heal and a lot of things that I actually have healed and a lot of things that I have together. So it was a really, really good learning experience. But yeah, typically I like to spend most of my time alone because I just like to be comfortable. I think when you are forced to be alone and you're pushed into a space of loneliness, it kind of forces you to be lonely in a way that's not comfortable, which is hard for a lot of people because it leaves you with your thoughts. And I know people's thoughts are the hardest thing for them to actually deal with and sit with and be with. So, yeah. I wouldn't say personally that my thoughts are the hardest thing to sit with and be with because I like to be alone. And I think a lot of loners find that for themselves too. Like, actually wanting to be alone, you find yourself sitting with your thoughts in your brain most of the time anyway. So my brain doesn't scare me. My brain and the worst thoughts that I can think don't scare me because I've thought them all and I've actually gone and dove in deep to what those thoughts mean to me, why I think them, what they say about me, or and everything like that. So I'm not really afraid to be left alone with just my brain. Like, that doesn't bother me. And I know a lot of people, it is very, very, very scary for them to just sit with themselves and just think, which I don't think is uncommon. Like, it's not uncommon. I don't think it's like a bad thing either. Obviously, I think it's something you need to work through. But because it's not uncommon and a lot of people do it, I don't think it's the worst thing ever. But being a loner, so for me personally, I've been a loner for honestly as long as I can remember. I spent a lot of time in my childhood alone. I was an only child up until I think I was about 6 years old. Involuntary loner as a youth. That just was how it was. I was left alone a lot of the time, so I just got comfortable being alone, and it was hard for me to make connections outside of myself and, at that point. My sister, personally, we have a lot of like just different mannerisms, thoughts, how we act and how we see each other. I don't know. It's just very different. So we didn't spend too much time together like this as we were growing up. We kind of were more separate. So I wasn't an only child for most of my life at this point, but it kind of gave only child vibes because I spent a lot of time just secluded in my room. I learned to be very comfortable with myself. And again, it definitely hindered me because it made me very uncomfortable around others. Still to this day, I'm very shy. I'm very awkward. Like, those are the downsides of being a loner. I'm very shy. I'm very awkward. I don't know how to talk to people. I hate small talk with a passion because it feels so fake. Like, who invented that? Who invented small talk? Why are we asking people how they're doing when we don't care? Why are we asking how people's moms are when we really don't care? Why are we asking about pets and no one cares? I'm not going to say no one. But most people that ask you about your mom and your pet and your dog, and they don't care, literally. And I guess it's nice that they ask, but to me, it's not even nice that they ask because I know that they don't really care. So what are we talking about? I don't know. But yeah, being a loner has definitely made me very socially awkward and just question a lot of interactions with people. I will say, while I am a loner, I am very observant. So being a loner has caused me to be shy out in public, which caused me to be quiet. So a lot of times I'm the one that's sitting to the back of the room, the one that's noticing everything that's going on. I'm a very keen observer. Like, I observe. I also, my childhood taught me to be very observational. I grew up in a little bit of a volatile space, so I had to be observant in order to clock the next move of my household. Like, I had to figure out what was going on and how to keep myself safe mentally and physically. So, yeah, I became a very keen observer being a loner and with the household that I grew up in. So now I really can tell. Like, I can tell when people care about things when they're talking to me like they care and when they don't. And it just bothers me. So I don't like small talk. I don't like, hey, how are you today? Like, unless you're really going to tell me how you were and what happened in your day and how things went and how it made you feel. Like, honestly, I don't care. Unfortunately. So yeah, being a loner, it can have, to me, honestly, that's not a downside. Like, I don't see not wanting to talk, like do small talk as a downside, but I could see why a lot of people would think it is. And the fact that I lack the skill is definitely a downside. I think the upside to that is, though, that I'm a very real person and that the connections that I do make are very real connections. I'm not connecting with people based off of false feelings and false answers and false emotions and things like that. When I connect with you, I'm connecting based off of how I really feel. I also get to show people what it's like to answer questions real. Like, I'm the type of person that if you ask me how I'm feeling, if I'm not feeling good, I will absolutely tell you, because that's just how I am. Realistically, that's how being a loner really shapes my everyday life outside of my interactions with myself. When interacting with other people, being a loner doesn't really affect me. If anything, I think it helps me get ahead because I'm not worried about other people's emotions and feelings outside of my own. When I'm in work settings, I'm in group settings and things like that, I'm not really worried about other people's emotions. Like, I can be, but I've really worked myself out of that phase, like being so worried about what's going on with you, how you feel, and this and that. Like, at this point, I just be like, am I okay? If I'm okay and nobody's directly telling me that they're not okay, then we're good. Like, I'm fine. So now, how does being a loner affect me internally is the question. I think it really depends on where I'm at in my life. I can speak to this in so many different ways. Like, being a loner in elementary school and grade school probably wasn't the best thing for me, honestly. I spent time with my friends, definitely spent a lot of time with my friends, but it wasn't like I had these great connections like other people did. I could tell that other people had a lot closer friendships than I ever had, especially in grade school, like where it would be me and another person as a friend group, three of us. The other two people always had a closer connection than I did, but I also never felt confident, comfortable, or like it was super necessary to involve myself in that friendship. Like, I always just felt like, okay, well, they decided to be closer friends. Would I like to be that close with them? Sure, yes, I would. But am I going to force my way in there and make sure I'm that close? No, I probably am not. And I had to grow up to realize that people are that close to each other because they make sure that they're that close to each other. Not just because, I mean, people definitely meet and they just so happen to have clicking personalities and be tight, but that takes work. Like, even if you guys have the best personalities and you guys become the best of friends with each other, you still have to work to become best friends and have a really close relationship. And that's just never been my thing. I'm not good at keeping close relationships. And I think it's because I find a friend in me. Like, I got a friend in me all the time. So it feels like I don't really have to go out of my way to make sure I keep these friendships, which is not good. It's a bad thing. Yeah, and it affects me and me only. Literally, everybody else has friends. I am the one that's sitting here, and I have friends. I don't want to frame it like I don't have friends, because I definitely do. I have very long-standing friendships that I've had for 10 years plus, but I don't do the work. Like, and I do sometimes. Now I go more out of my way to do the work because I know it takes the work, but I'm just so not used to doing the work. And I think that that's not a great way that being a loner affects me. I think it's a double-edged sword because it's good that I have such comfortability being alone. Like, that's really, really good because nobody's guaranteed. You're not guaranteed anybody's time. We are only here to experience each other for the amount of time that we experience each other. So I can't hold anybody down. I can't hold anybody to me and be like, yeah, you're my friend forever, because that friendship might go away. So it's good that I'm very confident with just being by myself, because it definitely affects me differently and probably a lot less when I lose friends. But it's not a great thing not to cultivate relationships. So I just need to learn how to keep that hard loner bone in my body, while also having that soft bone to be like, hey friend, how are you? And how are you really? Not how are you fake? How are you for real? Yeah, other ways that it affects me, like I said earlier, I touched on this. It definitely helps me, being a loner, definitely helps me zone in on my thoughts and be okay with my thoughts. I am oh so okay with listening to myself think, talking out loud, working through healing concepts in my head, working through me being a bad person. Like, I'm so comfortable with doing the work that you couldn't even do that much work if you were not alone as much as I am. So I think being a loner has definitely helped me in that way. It's definitely helped me like be like, okay, this brain that I have, it's going through a lot. It's going through a lot and I don't like it. So how do I make this the best place for me to be? How do I make my head and my body and alone with my spirit the best place for me to be? I had to really come to grips with that, because when we hang out with other people, we definitely distract ourselves. I noticed, because like drinking, I could be drinking alone and be like, woo, I'm drunk, or woo, I'm ready to throw in the towel. When I'm drinking with other people, it takes me so long to actually register that I'm drunk. And it's because other people are taking up my time, space, and mind space. They're making it so that I'm not focused on me and how I feel. And that's something that you really have to learn to do when you're out with other people. And it's hard to learn as a loner how to do this, but you really have to learn how to check in with yourself while checking in with others. Like, always, because it's hard for me to check in with myself when other people are around. So I always have to make a point to say, let me go to the bathroom real quick. Let me go to the bathroom by myself, just me, nobody else. And let me check on how I'm doing, top to bottom. And usually it's too late, but yeah, like I just noticed when you're around others, it is just so much easier to distract yourself from your own brain. But when you're alone, there is nobody to distract you from that. You have to go through that and you have to deal with it. I mean, unless you cope in bad ways and in good ways. There are good and bad coping mechanisms. But coping doesn't usually work for me, if I'm being honest with you. Like, even if I find a way that helps me cope in the beginning, it doesn't really last. It doesn't really suffice for a long time. So now that I have declared myself a loner and we know what being a loner kind of means to me, what it feels like to me, I guess I'll just discuss how I feel about being a loner right now, because I spoke to you about how I felt like more as a youth, and I spoke to you how I felt about being a loner just in general. Right now in my life, I am having to go through this radical acceptance of being a loner. How does the word isolation make you feel? Word isolation is really not a bad word. I think the way that society has deemed it and the way that society perceives it is definitely negative. But when I really think about the word isolation, it doesn't make me feel negative. But I could see why it would make most people, and it didn't make me feel because negative. Because I can't say that this wasn't like by choice. It was by design, for sure. It was by design, but it wasn't by choice. Having to be alone in this way was not what I planned to be in October of this year, but it's okay. So I have to come to grips with it and come to a radical acceptance of it and learn the beauty behind being alone as a 25-year-old woman. And And it's hard because a lot of people around me have relationships or situationships or friendships that are like this close, or like relationships with their siblings or their parents that are like this close. And I just don't have any of that right now, which is, again, it's okay. Like, to me, it's not sad, it's not unfortunate. All it's doing is making me realize that I need to become the version of myself that I want around other people. Right now, I'm great. I'm cool. Like, I'm a good version of myself. But while I'm alone and while I'm not working on fostering relationships and doing all that, I should be overly focused on making myself the best person that I can be to be around other people. And that's all I really want to focus on doing. I want to now, like, especially because I have a lot more time on my hands. Time is crazy. Like, time is really, really crazy. The fact that so much of my time opened up, it gave me so many opportunities just to do more things. More things that make me happy, more things that are solely for me, and more things that help me, essentially, like, help me a lot. So yeah, I've been able to work out more because I have a lot more time on my hands. I was going to try the 75 hard challenge. I haven't told anybody yet that I quit 2 weeks in because I was tired. I just got a new job. I'm working overnight. I'm an overnight concierge at an apartment building. So it's good. I got a job again. We're back full time, but I'm tired, you guys. I'm not used to being up all night. I had an overnight job before, but I haven't had an overnight job in a minute, and I'm just not used to being up all night, y'all. Like, I be in there struggling, eyes closing, like literally, I be going through it. So I had to make a decision and say, okay, I do want this money, so I am going to stop 75 hard just for a second. But it doesn't mean I'm going to stop working out. I'm not going to stop my water. Like, the challenge was no drinking water, read a book, work out twice a day, da 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 da. I'm going to just do all of that, but dial it back. Water, I'm going to keep up just as much. Working out, I'm only going to work out once a day, and probably not every single day. Maybe like 5 times a week is what I'm going for. And I'm also not doing crazy workouts. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing stuff like that. So, yeah, working out, not drinking as much. As you can see, I do have a little, I have a little wine with me, but not drinking as much at all. Like, I never want to go back to the way that I was drinking in my 24th year of life. Ever. It was a hard year. I made it through, but never want to go back to that. So we're keeping it cute from now on. And yeah, just trying to implement those things in my life without challenging myself, because my life is challenging enough. As you guys just heard, I went through a lot of challenges. So I don't need to challenge myself. I just need my nervous system to take a break, to calm down. I'm going to learn how to make my nervous system calm down while being alone and all the things. So yeah, I really think I'm done. I'm going to definitely, hopefully I included some clips from the last episode where there were more educational moments, because this will be shorter than that podcast was, but I'm a lot happier with this. I'm so glad I was actually able to come and be more emotional with you guys. And I know somebody is going to relate to what I'm saying. I know they are. So if you relate and you're a loner like I am, y'all know I'm trying to build my community. So please comment and let me know about your experience being a loner, whether you like it, whether you think it's a bad thing, a good thing, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about everything, how you feel about me. Let me know. All right. This has been really, really fun. I'm so glad to be back, and you guys will be seeing more episodes next week. We're doing Halloween things, so get into it. Halloween is my favorite holiday. October is my favorite month, for real, for real. Let's get into it, guys. All right, I'm about to go get off here and watch the I forgot what it's called, The Fall of Something. The man that made The Haunting of Bly Manor and The Haunting of Hill House. He made the Fall of the some house. So we're going to go watch that. We're going to get spooky. And I hope you guys have a good day, a good night, a good evening. Thank you so much for tuning back in. You don't even understand. what it means to me. Yeah. Bye, y'all.